Hello and welcome to Lesson 6 of the Grade 1 tutor book. So the teaching aims for this lesson is to learn about the DCL Sign, to learn about the Segno sign, the Cantabile sign, and then we're going to discuss how to compose a 2-bar rhythm on one note. So first of all, we're introduced to the DCL sign. Now when you see this sign, it means go back to the beginning until you reach the fine. So if you look at the piece called the Galway Piper, which is shown below, you will see that right at the very end of the piece, you've got the sign DCL fine. So if you're playing this, you will play the piece right to the end, then you go back to the beginning again and play the opening section again until you reach the word fine. And you can see that the word fine means end. So then you have a quick 2 questions to answer. First of all, they ask what key the piece is in, and then secondly, it says what bar shows the end of the piece. So you have to name the bar that the fine is in. Now sometimes music doesn't begin on the first beat of the bar. So when you get that, it's known as an upbeat or an anacrusis. Now when this happens, it's going to be difficult to actually start at the beginning of a piece of music if you want to go back and do a kind of DCL fine. So when this happens, you have what's called a Segno sign. So instead of going right back to the beginning, you're actually going to a certain place in the music. So you see, if you look at this piece in particular, the Round and Round the Village, you will notice that the F note here, which is the starting note, forms part of the last bar here. And that's why you've got DSL fine written at the end. So you miss the F out and you start at the Segno sign here when you do your playing, and then you play that again until you reach the fine. So you've got some example questions to do here. Again, it asks you what key the piece is in. It asks you what word, what does allegro mean. It asks you which bars show staccato notes. It asks you to explain about the Segno sign. And then it asks you to explain how many counts a dotted crotchet is worth. Moving on to the next page, we're then introduced to what's called the Cantabile sign. Now Cantabile is an Italian word which means song-like, so like you're singing. So in instrumental music, it's a particular style of playing designed to sort of imitate the human voice and make it sound like you're singing it. So whenever you have a piece of music that's got a term, a cantabile, within the music, you tend to play everything nice and joined and try and sing through the music. So this exercise 1 here that's been written has got the word andante cantabile. So at a walking pace, with a singing tone. So the questions underneath asking you what key is the exercise in, what does the word andante cantabile mean, and then name the ledger line notes found within the piece. So moving on now to composing a 2-bar rhythm to one note. So in this particular exam, you may be asked to write 2 bars of rhythm as an answer to 2 given bars. The questions could look something like this. So you have 2 bars written, all on the same note. It could have crotchets, it could have quavers, it could have semiquavers. It might have minims as well. So this example is in 2/4. It could be in 3/4 time, or it could be in 4/4 time. Okay, so underneath it gives you lots of hints and tips to help you answer this question. So first of all, check the time signature, because that will tell you how many beats you will need to put in each bar. Okay, and then the next a little helpful hint is think about how you would beam the notes together to fit that time signature. So think about the beaming of the semiquavers, as we talked about in this book, and also the beaming of the quavers that we talked about in the First Steps book. Then another little hint is to look at the existing rhythm, okay, and just keep what's already there, but just change it a little bit. For example, you could do a bar where you swap around the semiquavers and the crotchet and put the semiquavers first and the crotchet there, and do a little sort of switch. That would be a good way of doing it. So always use the material that's there, but just use it in a different way. And remember to reuse the rhythms. To write an answering rhythm, you should reuse some of the parts that are already there. So my advice to you is always to use what I call the KISS word. Keep it structured and simple. Remember that. They're not after rocket science, they're not after wonderful compositions, they're just after something very simple that is written correctly on the same note as shown in the example and uses some of the note values that are already there. So then you've got the opportunity to try composing your own answering two-bar phrase using the material that's already there in the similar way. And that completes Lesson 6.